So welcome everybody for the Reality for Diabetes mini reunion for Thailand. I had to think about that for a second. And what I want to do is I want to talk real quick about Reality for Diabetes. This is Tasha Wilkie's organization that she's put together. She's been raising money for it for a long time. Every year she raises a lot for this walk in Ohio. Is it correct? Am I correct? Ohio?
Yeah.
She started it in 2002. And the first event for this was actually in 2003. And she had a lot of the big named people from Survivor back on then. She had, let's see, she gave me the list. She had like 33 of them, I think it was the first year, including Amber, Roger Bingham, Amber from, Amber Burkich, and now, of course, Robb's other, that kind of thing. But let's see. It was the first big event. It was 33 survivors from the first 4 seasons, and this one was in Nebraska for an AIDS fundraiser as a graduation gift. And ever since then, she's been working with it. She actually even did a paper on Amber for her college, for her thesis and all that kind of thing. So, okay, this is all back before social media got going, and all before Hearts of Reality started and all that kind of thing.
Can you even imagine? Crazy to me.
Yeah, writing letters to everybody.
Yeah, just being able to to be able to connect with everyone via text messages weren't even really a thing then.
No, email was really a thing. Yeah,
picking up the phone like a dinosaur and being like, "Hello, hi, is this so and so?" Like,
I remember that event.
Anyway.
I think I was at the second one. It was in Dayton, and it was a pretty cool thing. Tanya, you were there, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tanya's everything. Tanya's just like
I used to go to everything. Now I usually just go to Hearts. Like I used to go to everything, and now like hers always falls on my mom's birthday, and it's really hard for me to miss my mom's birthday. So like with my dad dying, I just I'm like, if you change the weekend, let me know.
Gotta take care of mom. I feel like now I want to participate in some of those things. I'm gonna talk to you about it, Tanya. But I'll be able to. Everything's not gonna be so crazy for the next probably 8 months of my life.
But I'm not trying to. I'm not plugging Hearts right now. I'm plugging Reality for Diabetes. So anyhow,
sorry.
It got rescheduled. So instead of August, it's December. So if y'all do want to go to Hearts, let me know because it's in December now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. So her first event, actually, I lied. She had said 33, but I got it here. Her first event had 70 reality stars from Survivor, Amazing Race, Big Brother, and The Mole. I loved The Mole back then. That was a great show. And that's also why it's not for the name of charity. It's 4 TV shows. This is for all reality. Okay. Of course, she says 70 is nothing now, and but it's a pretty big deal back then. Like you said, actually taking the telephone. I was watching John earlier on his camera, and he had a phone with this weird wire that attached to something. I don't know.
Who, me?
Yeah. You had a phone with this weird wire. I don't understand.
Was it charging?
No,
it was charging wire.
It was a landline.
Oh, that's right. I got you. Yeah, my phone called. Here, I had to answer it.
So she had Boston Robb, Heidi, Robb, Sesternino, Ethan, Lex, Jenna Maraska, Jenna Lewis, I'm guessing. Some pretty big names. And they were all working to support the cause. Okay. I asked her, I said, how much have you raised, approximately over the years for Reality for Diabetes? Because, of course, this is all for diabetes in all this. Tasha being diabetic, it really kind of ties right into that. And she said that over the last, several years or last however long, about $160,000 that she's helped raise, for the organization. So that's pretty fantastic.
Unbelievable, man.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and
absolutely unbelievable.
And that's her working real hard every year to get that going, get the event going.
That's so awesome.
Keeping them entertained, and she has a lot of fun stuff like mini golf and bowling and just time to spend with the contestants on a personal level, which is really cool. So she said she actually started way back in the early 2000s selling autographed pics and charity phone calls on eBay. So,
oh, that's awesome. I'm 100% going to figure out where I'm going to donate my skateboard to, but I don't even know if anybody would give a shit, but
yeah, they would.
Oh, they would.
I'll put a bid in, Rob. Don't worry. So
it's the question that everyone asks me is about the skateboard. Yeah. So definitely when I saw it, I was like, I'm 100% donating this.
Well, I'll start the bid at $100, and I'm sure you're going to get a couple thousand, but I'll throw a bid in there to make sure that I honor that.
Just throw it to John Vataha or Vahada, whatever. He'll buy it for scotch and stuff.
That's who I was thinking exactly would end up buying it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, John's gonna get it, of course.
So
awesome.
we have, of course, Mike. Practically everybody knows Mike. Well, I'm sure everybody here knows Mike and all that kind of stuff. And Patty, you're getting a lucky session here, Patty. You like I said, there's not as many people as expected, so you're getting kind of a as many questions as you'd like kind of thing.
Patty, where are you from?
Oh, Kentucky.
What part of Kentucky?
Central. I live just north of Lexington.
Well,
I actually taught high school with Roger.
Okay, I was about to say you have to know Tanya then, huh? Have y'all met yet?
I know. I've seen her before.
I go to Tasha's events.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But Andrew Shade, he was on The Amazing Race with his dad. Yeah. He's the one that asked me to come to the event for the first time. So my son was modeling and Andrew was choreographer for them, which is how Andrew and I met. And I'm kind of like a second mom to him. So he's back in Kentucky. He was gone for a while, but.
Yeah, I love Andrew. He's amazing.
I do know at one of Tasha's events, Jake was there and he auctioned off one of his shirts and I bought a shirt. So,
nice.
Straight off his body?
Straight off his body. He got to do a little stripper
I remember
action.
that.
And you've never washed it. You've never washed it, right? It's hanging up. And
It's I've never washed it. Nope. It still has his food stains on it and all.
There you go.
Jake was unfortunately one of the ones we missed last time and this time for the chat, but he's here in spirit, I'm sure.
Well, let's hope nobody offers to, buy Tanya's shirt on this call. So.
Hey, it is my old school Survivor shirt.
Oh, there you go. Very good.
Yeah. That's a great shirt. Yeah, he has blue now. He used to just have gray, so now he has blue. So Ethan Zahn has them on his website. So
he does hoodies too.
Yeah.
I did $1,000 for the shirt, but Todd might have something to say about that. Patty, Roger is my homie. He calls on the phone every birthday, not every birthday, a couple birthdays, and sings happy birthday to me. So it's like, yeah. So what do we have? What do we got? Questions? I've got a list from when I did my binge watch, but I mean, it's up to you guys. I'm just the host. I'm just here to hang out. What kind of questions do you have?
I'd like to ask Patty what the weather's like in Kentucky.
Hot.
Is it 100 degrees hot?
Yeah, it was actually 101 a couple days ago. My husband and I have 2 different farms, and we've been out weed eating, and he's been weed eating, and I've been using the tree cutters and cutting branches, and we have 119 acres on one farm, so we've been going around because we're wanting to move the cows into the bottoms and had to clear out the pasture, and yep.
What else do you grow?
What's that?
What else do you grow?
We raise cattle, but I do have a little garden here that's got tomatoes and cucumbers and stuff. So
that's awesome. A friend of mine has an alfalfa farm in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. I think it's fantastic. I love it.
So
you drive down and visit me in Colorado Springs.
How has the COVID affected the price of your cows?
It's kind of down right now because the slaughterhouses aren't open, so they don't have the sales going on. But we're just hanging on to them for now. You got to find somebody that'll take them first.
Now,
as long as they're healthy, they're not going anywhere.
That's right.
Right.
Do you ever see Big Tom at the cattle farm sales?
Not here.
I know he travels a lot of places because sometimes randomly he'll call me. He'll say, excuse the language, I need a bitch to come ride with me. That's what he says.
I know his son went to college in Kentucky down at Cumberland, but I have an open invitation to go to his house whenever I'm in West Virginia, right?
It's in Virginia. It's
Virginia. Yeah.
Yeah. We were supposed to go this weekend, and his mom's been real sick, and his dad had an MRI and stuff, so we ended up not going. So that's why everybody ended up at my house. But I still think we need a Thailand reunion at his cabin that he has on his property.
I'm there.
It's really awesome.
Dude, do it. I 100% would be into that.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to Texas to see Erin for sure.
Yeah, you need to.
Jed. I'm gonna. I honestly.
Everybody's welcome. I mean, it's
we're about, I guess, 101 to 107 for the next week. So this is, and obviously with everything going on. So Patty, I can empathize with you on the heat.
Yeah, I'm right there in Arizona, but it's a dry heat.
Louisiana is one of the hottest places I've ever been. What's the weather in Louisiana?
Well, actually, we're pretty hot, but we're not as humid as typical. I think last time y'all were down here, it might have been pretty humid.
Yeah.
But that's the thing with Louisiana. It's not so much the heat, it's the humidity, but it'll just drain you, you know?
Yeah.
But, Rob, what you need to do is talk to Jed and say, you know, his lake house might be a good place for a Thailand reunion as well.
Yeah.
Go there and go tubing and skiing and wakeboarding and whatever
I
else.
mean, I can't vouch for the guy. That would be incredible. That would be the dream for sure.
Right.
We'll press the issue. We'll press it. Yeah, it's 100. It's like 110 today in Arizona, but it's dry and it's funny. Like it doesn't. It's not terrible. You know what I mean? I know it sounds weird, but everyone's like, "Oh, Arizona's so hot." I've been here for basically off and on for 3 months. I've gone back to LA every 2 weeks for like 3 days. I mean, I feel bad for people who have to live in humidity.
Yeah.
The one thing about Arizona is you can't really leave anything outside, even like patio furniture, if it's in direct sunlight, because it's legitimately so dry. It turns anything. I put like I'm an idiot. I put 3 candles on this table outside so I could have like a little vibe outside next to my pool. And yesterday when I took the recycling out, all 3 candles were tipped over and melted flat. I'm in my life, I've never witnessed anything like it. But
I was in a sales conference in Arizona one time, and I won this big trophy. I was so proud of it. Well, I stuck it in the back rear view, the back, you know, and I went in, and a day later I come back out, the whole thing just melted down. I'm like, I ruined it. I'll never forget.
It's insane.
Remember when we were in Thailand, it was 100% humidity, and like the temperature was like 110. I mean, we were up at dawn, like right at sunrise, to go into the jungle to go get water, just because anything after that was so hot. And I mean, you're already drained from not eating, but I mean, it was just, intense heat.
So, obviously, Erin made the jury, so she didn't get to partake in the vacation that John and Tanya and I got to partake in. And I mean, there was some alcohol consumed, there was some food consumed.
A little bit.
But a little bit, but it was so freaking humid and so hot. You wear a t-shirt and shorts, and we walk out of our hotel, and it was immediately stuck to me. And of course, I was a Jed, so it was like everything was an adventure and 100 miles an hour. He's like, no, you know, we got to go to this night market, and we got to go check this thing out, and you know, he had a plan. It was awesome. He had a whole itinerary, but it was the humidity was awful.
It was like, I remember taking a shower, and remember those showers were just like ice cold, like you thought they were going to be ice cold.
No heat,
no heat, but then it felt so good, and instantly when you got out of the shower, then you were like sweating already. You were like, oh gosh, now I'm like,
I want to get back in. That's right.
Yeah, it was gross. It was definitely Thailand is a trip, man. We, like John and I, there was one of the nights where we were in Bangkok, and there was a guy, I think, John, you were the one who even told me this cool little fun fact, but there's people in Thailand who devote their whole lives to caring for an elephant, even if it's in a populated area, and they're basically homeless people who care for elephants.
That's right.
Pretty crazy. And I mean, you're in Bangkok, and there's people who walk elephants down the street with taillights. And they literally have a light on the tail of an elephant, and it swings back and forth. Crazy. But I'm pretty sure it was you that told me that, John. You told me a lot of really cool stuff actually on that.
It was a great trip. And sorry, Erin, that you were so much better at the game than us. You missed out on this. But we really had a killer time. I tell people, I said, look, if you're not going to win, get voted out early, because it's a great ride, and CBS pays for everything. I mean, we went scuba diving, elephant riding, bungee jumping. It was great.
Go-kart riding, we went kayaking, like everything.
I actually forgot about go-kart riding.
Oh my God. I thought y'all were going to kill me.
The bumpers on the track were just like go-kart tires that were strewn together. It was like one big long string. Like you could have ridden off the track like Like,
and Robb's a competitor too. Between Robb and Jed and me,
Jed too, though.
It's a wonder that one of us didn't die, because we were going for it, because we wanted to come in there and win $1 million, and there was that so much competitive testosterone still left in us. We were everything was wide open, man. It was great.
This is all playing into Letterman's idea, like, you guys are out in the island and, you got luxuries and all that kind of stuff. So now you guys are talking about on camera going go-kart riding and stuff. The people that might watch this late be like, wait a minute, I thought they were starving on a beach,
Erin was.
Well, Erin was. When we get voted off, like, obviously we go to the Ponderosa. I'm pretty sure that's what they still call it. You get voted off. People are pre-jury, the first 6 voted off, or pre-jury, first 7 actually. 7. It's 7. The first 7 people voted off go back to the Ponderosa and get sequestered so we can't see what's going on in the game. And eventually, after the 7th person gets voted off, they take us away from, in Thailand, they took us away from the island. We took a boat off of Hat Yai, or off of Koh Tao, to Hat Yai, and then to Bangkok, and then had this whole adventure.
Chiang Mai, Pa. Remember those little banana boat house that we stayed at?
Yeah.
Oh, so we stayed in the jungle where we had our own little room, and it was really neat. We were in the middle of the rainforest, and the place was, so ramshackle. Like, you could see under the door. One of the days that we were there, Jed was like, "Come and look at this," and he opened one of the doors, because the door was leaning against the wall. He said to come into the place. He opened the door, and there was a gigantic spider, not a tarantula, but like this massive spider on the wall. And then I found a millipede in my shower, which is not a centipede. A millipede's the one that looks like a big pen, like a big black pen. But anyways, yeah. I'd actually like to hear somebody else chime in and ask something.
Yeah, did y'all remember when we were at the Ponderosa and there was this huge king cobra that came up to the door?
Oh, dude, oh my God, I also found, I wonder if you guys are going to be able to see this. I found my photo album.
No kidding.
Hold on. Yeah, dude. Hold on.
So we're here and we're hanging out watching movies or whatever, and DVDs, and this huge king cobra, must have been 9 feet long, comes up, and
at least
it's right up. It's right here, looking in the door, and we're like freaking. And so who was the CBS person that was our handler? I forget her name. It was
Meredith or Jocelyn?
Meredith, yeah.
Meredith.
It was Hodder's girlfriend. And and so she calls the wranglers. She calls the snake wranglers. And so this team of Thailand snake wranglers come out, and meanwhile, the snake leaves the door. And so, I'm from Louisiana. We caught snakes my whole life. And so I go out and Meredith's like, "You get back in here. You can't be out there." I said, "Look, I'm just going to follow it."
She was freaking out. Dude, the thing was 12 feet long.
Oh, she was freaking out.
Check this
out.
And
I said, "They're never going to be able to find it."
You guys can see that.
What you got?
Can you see it without the glare?
Oh, my, that's it. That's it. It's exactly right.
In the window.
It was in the window.
If you can look at this one, that's going to be really shitty for you guys to see it, but.
Take it out of the paper. Take it out.
Yeah, so this is it coiled up. This is the king cobra. This is the king cobra. This is 20-year-old film on a shitty throw. It's still gonna have a terrible glare. Dude, that's the king cobra coiled up. Look at how long its tail goes, dude.
Oh,
all the way to the next balcony.
Oh, it was scary. And so I got out and I followed it. I kind of stayed a little bit behind it. And I was thinking I should catch it, and I'm like, nah, better not. I'll get in trouble. I wasn't afraid of getting bit. I was afraid of getting sent home. And so I followed it, and no kidding, this thing goes into the weeds and everything. Oh yeah, look at that.
The elephants. Anyway, sorry.
Oh my gosh. So this
sorry for cobra. You guys, I have so many pictures in here.
I want to see them when we get together.
I will. Sorry for another time, but yeah.
I go in, and this king cobra, no kidding. It goes down into a hole no bigger than this, and it just goes down, and it keeps going, and then it just goes. And I'm like, how deep is that little hole? And so I stood there, finally the wranglers come out, and they said, where is it? I said, it's down in that little hole. And so they started sticking their sticks in there, and they started digging it out. Sure enough, they dug a big old hole and got that pole down there and kind of twisted it around and pulled it out. And they started pulling this long thing out of there. Had I not found it,
they're fearless too.
I would have been like, I'm staying inside. I'm not going out there, And so,
so So they caught it really quick, but of course
and they
CBS wanted to use it for their footage, and so they caught it, and then they caught it and then let it go so they could tape it, and then it escaped.
And then, because you remember the guy, I actually have a picture of the guy with the camera filming the opening, dude. Yeah, hold on.
And they're
I was a
yelling
photographer
at John,
even before I was a photographer.
They're telling John, we don't have enough anti-venom to save your life. You need to, like,
and the helicopter won't fly. Like, if you get bit, you'll die. I remember that.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, it's no big deal. I'm okay with this. And we're like, John, like, we're all inside going, no. And, yeah, they say that they breed wherever they're at. So that's why they wanted to get it out of there, because they didn't want a ton of king cobras over there.
Yeah.
And do you remember that one of the first nights where Mark Burnett was, like, talking to everyone? We still couldn't talk to each other. And we had just eaten, and this humongous beetle landed next to John. I don't know if you remember this. It was like, I'm not exaggerating, dude. It was like probably the size of a like if you cut a pool ball in half. And he picked it up with his hand and went to throw it, and it split its shell and spread its wings and flew out of its hand. And I just remember, like, we hadn't had a conversation. We knew nothing about each other. But I remember thinking to myself, like, am I going to be the fucking softest dude here or what? It was next to where all of us were eating. He just reached down and he was like, boop, he just like picked it up and it flew out of his hand. I was like, that's pretty hardcore. So check this out. This is, I wonder if I can shine my phone. I wonder if I can shine my phone light on it. Yeah, I got a memory like a freaking steel trap or some shit. And then I also can't remember where I put my shoes when I get home from the gym. But so that's the dude. That's the cameraman right here. Okay. And he's filming the king cobra in the brush that made it to the opening of Survivor Thailand.
Isn't that something?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man. I snuck in there and took that picture. Meredith also yelled at me, John, but I definitely was not close to, like, you chased after the snake and you were gung ho, man. I remember thinking, what in the actual?
I had to do something. I knew I was missing out on my big adventure and getting kicked out of the game. I'm like, all right, I got to do something to get some thrill here, you know?
Yeah, it's great. So while we reminisce at everyone else's expense, Patty, ask us some questions. I feel like a jerk. We're just talking about it.
Erin was going to say something. What were you thinking, Erin?
So I remember when we first got to the Ponderosa, and of course none of us could talk, and we're in our little I don't know, like little cabanas.
Bungalows.
Little bungalows, yeah.
Those things were so rad.
There's mosquitoes everywhere, so you've got mosquito nets. There's no AC, but I mean, I wasn't used to that environment, and so I remember because the windows were open when we got there, and I was like, oh hell no, because there was such the bugs were huge. There was crabs that were crawling. They would crawl in your room. So I closed my doors. I closed my windows. I put the mosquito net around me to sleep. I don't even know how.
Around your bed.
So hot. Yeah, it was so hot. And then I remember once I got voted off, and I went back because of course I'd been sleeping out there for 24 days or whatever. That I get back and I mean everything's open and I've got bugs crawling in my sink and in the shower and I don't even care whatsoever. And even to this day, like bugs or snake, none of that stuff bothers me. But I remember going and I don't even know how I survived the first couple days before we got into the game, just because I should have died of like a heat stroke or something from being all covered, closed up in that room.
Poor Tanya got sick too. It was tough. I remember getting to where the bungalows were and us laying down, and I had this humongous bag of clothes. Like they said to bring enough clothes. I don't remember. What was it, John or Tanya was like, they said to bring enough clothes, or Erin also. They said to bring enough clothes for a 6-week vacation.
Yeah.
So I brought a duffel bag that was just obscene, full of clothes. So then they were like, so, hey, Rob, we have to go through your clothes and see what clothes you're going to wear in the game. And I couldn't find, I thought that I packed them something different and left them at home and had a full-on nervous breakdown. I was throwing shit everywhere. It was awful. But they set us up in these little rooms, basically, guys. They set us up in these little rooms where it was 2 bedrooms separated by a staircase that went up the middle, and you could access the roof. So you could sit on the roof, which we did after we got voted out. Unbelievable. In this little cove. Honestly, in this, it was like a cul-de-sac off the ocean. So almost like a bay.
Yeah.
100%. But it was Adam and T.
Right. Beautiful.
Out in front of us. It was unbelievable. There's still. I've been to some really cool beaches. I've done a lot of really, really cool things. There's definitely moments where Jed and I sat there and we're like, think of how many people have sat here and never had this opportunity.
Yeah.
Nobody. It was insane. But I definitely remember being, I was like 22 or 23 when we shot the show. Kid from Scottsdale, never a Boy Scout, camp, but like slept in the bed of a truck always with a sleeping bag. And I'm not that soft. I mean, I could, whatever. But one of the things I freaked out the hardest at in Thailand is when we were in Thailand, like proper, we were in like Pai spots in Chiang Mai where they had a squatty potty. I just remember being absolutely terrified.
The bucket?
I was like, no, yeah, the bucket, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's literally it's like a big square made out of ceramic. It's like nice white ceramic, just like a toilet. But it's got like light tread, like, like in the ceramic, and there's just a hole, and there's no flush button. You pour water down it, and it takes your stuff away. But it was definitely. I remember everyone else not thinking it was a big deal, and I was like, I will fist fight any grown man on earth, and I'm terrified to go number 2 in a hole. So anyways, that's
they had those in Hungary as well, near Croatia. My friend and I drove up to
Hungary. They did the same thing?
Yeah, the same thing. It's like, what the hell? We didn't know what the heck was going on with that.
I looked in there and I was like, there's no way that this is the toilet. You're supposed to pee in there. And Jed thought it was hysterical. He was doubled over pointing at the hole like, that's where you go. And I was like, that's really not where you go. Where are the toilets?
So
and you took a shower. You took a shower over it. Remember the one with that banana boat?
Yeah, one of the place that small place we stayed, you showered over it.
So let's go, Mike. Do you have any comments? I mean, you're kind of quiet. Like I said, everybody knows you.
Well, Erin was talking about, and Rob, about the DoubleTree, so I'm always fascinated about the journey to the island or to Thailand. So what was, your casting experience like? Because back then they didn't have the regionals and all that before finals, and like your individual process to get on the show. So
yeah.
Well, this was, I think everything is so different because there wasn't any social media.
Yeah, seriously.
I was bartending in Austin and going to school at UT, and they had casting directors that would come into the bars and hand out business cards. And it's funny because at the time I had 2 twin brothers as my roommates, and one was a radio, television, film major, and the other was an English major, and they make short films now. But they said, you have to do this. Like, we'll shoot your video. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't even know what this is. I'd never seen Survivor. I mean, there weren't, I think Road Rules and Real World were the only other reality shows at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And
it was early.
Yeah, it was early. And so they convinced me to shoot my video. I filled out my application, which the application was really a lot of fun because they asked really just out there questions. And I think the crazier your answers are, like the better it is. But so anyway, so you send that off. Well, then for me, I actually ended up getting, I can't remember if they emailed us or called us, letting us know on your application, there's 10 different cities, and they have you choose which city is closest to you. And for me, it was Houston because I live in Austin. And so once you made it to the, so at the time there were like 65,000 applicants from what I remember. And then they narrow it down to 2,500 from that 65,000. And so there's 250 in each of the 10 cities to make the 25.
I had no idea there was that many people. Just really no idea there was that many people.
Yeah. And then
that makes me feel a lot better about myself.
So then I drove to Houston and they did your interviews at the CBS station there. And I remember it wasn't even, I drove there and my interview was maybe 45 minutes, maybe an hour. And then I turned around and drove back and it wasn't with a ton of people. It was just with like a couple of different people. I think like 200 people, none of the big wigs or anything like that. I think it was still kind of the casting directors. Mm-hmm. And from there, you're just kind of like, okay, you know, well then the next step is LA or actually Santa Monica. And so then it's narrowed down to 48 people. And we are all basically quarantined in a hotel, the same hotel for 2 weeks. And during that time, you have to stay in your room the whole time. You are allowed, I think it's like once a day, your handler will come and get you and you can go outside. And then you're able to go down to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but you can't talk to anybody. And so you see all these people like sitting at this table of one, you know, eating, but we're not allowed to talk.
It was social distancing. It was social distancing before social distancing.
Yeah.
You're literally sitting at a table, and they took us to lunch, and it was the buffet at the DoubleTree. So you walk the buffet line, and you fill your plate up like with whatever shit you want from the buffet, and they walk you to the table, and they're like, well, here you are. Don't talk to anybody or you're the worst. And you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. So you're just there pretty much by yourself. But during that process is when you go through, they did basically like the psychological testing, which from what I remember, it was like, I believe it was close to like 500 questions where really it was like insane. 100 questions, but worded in different ways.
It took like half a day.
Really to see whether or not, they kind of want to see how your personality is. Are you telling the truth? Are you not? Like just kind of the type of person that you are. They also do the medical testing. They do, then we had the physical test. So now, like I started finally working out in my early 30s. I didn't work out or anything back then. And so they take us down.
I only did cardio back then. I didn't
do cardio. Like I bartended, that was like as active as I was, you know. But they had this whole obstacle course set up on the beach, like the Santa Monica beach. So it was like running, and they had ropes, and so that was actually it was really cool. But I mean, I remember thinking, and there's you know, the adrenaline factor too when you're doing it. But I mean, I've been active, and I, you know, played, you know, not major sports in school or whatever, but I'd never done anything like that before. So there's, you've got
you must have done all right.
I guess.
You made it on the show.
And then in between all of those, they have you, they basically call your room and let you know that you're going to be going up to the 8th floor for interviews.
Yep.
And on the 8th floor is where Mark Burnett, Jeff Probst, and pretty much a lot
Lynn
of the
Spellman. Lynn Spellman at the time, like all the heavy hitters at CBS television.
Yes.
They're all upstairs waiting to interview us.
What's very interesting about that is they actually have Polaroids of all of us, and from basically they kind of have this mold that they want to fill, obviously, and you know, and so you've got 48 people, they're trying to narrow it down to 16, and so they're kind of shuffling around these Polaroids on this table in front of you. And so you just, you know, and you're not really given any insight as to whether or not, you know, you're going to make it or you're not or whatever. They're really just kind of trying to get to know you and asking you all different kinds of questions, wanting to know things like, would you do this?
If you think someone's cute,
are
there any girls that are cute? That's what they ask me. Are there any girls downstairs that you think are cute?
Yeah.
Who's attractive? And I'm like, the girl with the girl with the hair. I'm like, how am I going to describe somebody? I don't know their fucking name. I was like, the one girl, and they're like, which girl? Shit. I was like, the girl, the girl. I don't know.
Yeah, it was pretty intimidating, though. You walk in there, and all those pictures are out there and everything, and you're like,
yeah.
Talk about a job interview,
and they're like,
dude.
And, dude, they had the primo room. Like, when you went up to the 8th floor, it was like, you walked into their room, and we had a handler bring us up to the 8th floor. The elevator opens, and it's just like, I think there's like, I don't remember how many bedrooms are up there, but it wasn't many. You walk in, and there's this giant living room. Do you guys remember? And it had a view of the ocean. It was just a straight shot to the beach, to the ocean. So we're like,
I remember. I was so nervous just going in.
I remember it because I said to them, I was like, I was like, oh, I'm like, you guys put us in the room with no view, and you guys just stand. I mean, they all laughed at me.
And then when you get there, those two doors open, and then there's Jeff Probst sitting on the couch, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's really Jeff Probst in the flesh.
And he was like, when I walked in, he was like, the first time he was like sitting on the front of the couch, and he's like, come on in, Rob, fucking be Jeff Probst, fucking sit down. I remember I'd never really watched Survivor, but I knew who he was, but it was funny.
Hey, did he do this to you guys? Did Jeff tell you guys the same thing he told me? He says, so listen, why do you want to do this? You're going to get eaten by bugs. It's going to be dangerous. Yeah. He did it. And I'm like, dude, look, I've already seen all of your interviews. I know what you're going to say. I said, look, when everybody else is freaking out, I'll just get started. I mean, this is what I was born for this, But
yeah, you were too, man. I was not. My casting process was very similar to Erin's, only I did a really terrible show called Eliminate.
I remember that show.
It aired while you were there.
It did. I saw you on television while I was in my room.
You were one of the guys downstairs eating, and you were like, oh my God, he's on Eliminate.
You were already famous.
They couldn't believe that when I was, like, the producers even mentioned it. Do you know that your show, the show that you were on, your reality show, like, people have seen it. People in this production basically have seen it, and because it aired, and I was like, yeah, whatever. Anyways, long story short, I did Eliminate in Scottsdale, where I am now. Did Eliminate. It was dope. It was fun. I was young and stupid. I went out with 3 girls. I was probably not super nice to them. The dude who was casting Eliminate, his name is Paul. Paul ended up casting Survivor. So basically, I was about to catch a flight to Orange County to go visit friends of mine. And he's like, hey man, I have another show I'm casting. I think you'd be really good for. I was like, cool, man. I'm about to get on the flight. Like, email me the details or whatever. I don't even think I said that because this was like 2002 or whatever. I was like, sure, call me back about this. I'm about to get on the flight. He goes, dude, the show's Survivor. And I was like, oh shit. This would have been it was in like the 3rd season. I knew it was this big show. And I was like, that would be kind of cool, to be out there and be sequestered and like have to survive. So I was like, fuck, this sounds rad. So I was like, cool, Paul, hit me back. He hits me back when I'm in Orange County. I don't call the dude back literally I partied for 4 days. I don't call him back for 4 days. And he's like, dude, like, you got to do this and you got to do that. So basically, he's like, you got to shoot a submission tape and send it directly to me. So I shoot a submission tape that consisted of, it was probably less interesting than the picture that you guys are looking at in the Zoom call. I was sitting in the movie theater at my brother-in-law's house in this huge chair, and he's asking me questions about my life. And I was like, even more dude bro than I am as an adult. He asked me questions. I sent it to Paul. Didn't hear anything. I was like, cool, I'm gonna continue to live my life. Went to the lake a bunch of days. Like, he hit me once. I was like, I don't know. Then he finally got a hold of me. He's like, dude, we're trying to, if you really want to do this, I think I can have you come to Santa Monica. So it worked out. Then I went to Santa Monica and shit got real. But I don't know if Tanya and John and Aaron, I don't know if you guys know this, but I got in trouble in the casting process. In the beginning of casting, I had walking pneumonia. I was sick. Towards the end of the process, I had started to feel a lot better. And I always went to Orange County to visit friends of mine because they had a clothing company that at the time was fledgling. Now they're destroying it. They're doing like millions of dollars a year. They're called Stolen Clothing. I actually wore it on Survivor. I got the logos clear and I wore their shit on Survivor. They're destroying stuff now, but they were this little company and they would throw parties. The nights that I was in the DoubleTree, when I was sequestered there, I snuck out and went to a party. And when I got home, it was like the wee hours of the morning, and Meredith and them were like up to start their day. Like, they were like, it's production, dude. They have 48 people they're handling. Right. All this shit is going on. And I roll into my backpack and I haven't slept. And I probably smelled like the end of the world. It was drew my face off for 6 hours, 8 hours. But anyways, I rolled in, I went to my room, and they basically were like, if you ever do this again, we're going to send you home. And then that day when I talked to the producers, that was the day they told me that on the show. And they showed me the picture of an alternate with his face blacked out. So like the Polaroid picture, but with something over it. I don't remember if it was like a piece of gaff tape or what was over his face. They were like, if you fuck this up, this is who will replace you, this person. And I couldn't see his face, but they're like, this is an alternate, which I don't know if they've ever in the history of Survivor had to use an alternate, but they always have two, right? They have a girl and a guy.
Penny was an alternate.
She was?
An alternate, yeah.
How rad is, I'm glad that the person who was.
Tina Wesson from Australia was an alternate.
Tina was, yeah.
And she won.
Yeah, the reason why was, I don't know if y'all know this, but they had originally in the Outback decided that they were going to all skydive into the drop zone. And the person was like, look, I'm not going to do a skydive. And Tina was like, I'm down. And so they switched them out. Ultimately, they didn't decide to do the skydive anyway.
Yeah, it would have been so much money and so much dudes flying through
liability and everything. But she ended up winning all because somebody was going to be like, I don't want to skydive. Okay.
It's the way the universe works, man. What a trip. Good for her.
Here's a quick question.
So anyways.
Quick question to piggyback off of Mike's question. You know, he's talking about the quick casting process and stuff. What do you all feel that was your niche? You know, I mean, like, what was your, you were cast as that person because in previous seasons you were, like maybe like Tanya be the Colleen or something like that, that kind of thing, the sweetheart or something. What do you think your niche was? Because I'm curious about John's.
Well, I definitely think that Tanya was the sweetheart. I think everybody fell in love with her in the first 5 seconds. I know I did.
Agreed. That's true.
I still am in love with you, Tanya. So there, for the
record.
record.
I love you too.
I know, and you love my family, and they love you. But no, for me, I think I realized that they hadn't cast a pastor yet, and it was only a matter of time until they did, because there's certain you need a cop, you need a pastor, you need a doctor, you need a mom, single mom, somebody.
All the different dynamics, dude. Like,
and so I said, okay, this would be cool. But then, so on my video, I broke it up in a few spots. I was dressed in a suit, sat on my desk, and said, hey, as a counselor and a pastor and blah, blah. And then I did another segment where I was in the living room with my 2 kids. They were about this tall, John and Monica. Tanya knows them well. And we were all dancing around, and they were saying, yo, daddy, yo, get on the show. And so it just kind of made it look like a family guy, And then my other one that I think really made a difference was I went out in the swamp dressed in camouflage. And this was back before swamp people, but you still had the what was the Outback guy that would catch the crocodile hunter?
Steve Irwin.
Oh, yeah, Steve Irwin. And so I went out dressed in camo, and I had a friend with a videotape, and I had gone to a cousin of mine's house who owns an alligator farm, and I had got one of his about 4.5 feet alligator, and I went and I put it in the swamp, and I tied it to this cypress knee, and so so what I did was I looked at the camera and I said, come on, Chef, we're going to go down to Louisiana swamp and catch ourselves a Louisiana alligator. And so I was trying to act like that Cajun version of Steve Irwin. And so I went through the palmettos, and I was like, look, there's one right there. And so we went over, and he filmed it, and I bent down and kind of, hid the alligator for a second while I untied it. And then I picked it up and looked at the camera, and its mouth was wide open, and it was wiggling around. And I said, see that, Cher, or something like that. So, those Hollywood people went nuts over that. Oh, my gosh, this
I'm sure
that's catching alligators.
Do you still have the video?
I hope so. I haven't. I'm going to look for it, to be honest with you now.
I mean, my video was so boring, I wouldn't show it to a single soul again. But yours sounds awesome. I would watch that right now.
And John, hadn't you tried out for multiple seasons before that? Yeah,
thanks for asking me. In fact, Paul was the one ultimately, Rob, that got me on the show. But thanks for asking me.
He's actually, I'm so friends with him too.
Yeah, I used the same video for the second one. But what happened, this is a cool story. So what happened, I went to Austin, Erin, for Survivor 3. Because on the Outback, I'm like, I'm in. They're doing my show. They didn't even tell me I'm supposed to be there. And so I applied for 3, went to Austin, did the thing, and they were blown away. They said, look, you're going to get on the show. We're definitely going to get you on Survivor 4, but we've already got 3 cast. And so we can't fit you in, but you don't even have to reapply for 4. You're in. I'm like, oh, man, this is fantastic. So Survivor 4 comes, find out now, apply now. And I'm thinking, well, I don't need to apply. They told me I'm on, right? I hear nothing. Next thing you know, it's being filmed. I'm like, what happened, And so
they lied to you, John.
They lied, baby. So I reapplied for 5. which is ours in Thailand. And I ended up going
Yes,
to for that one. And that was where I met Paul. And I told him a couple stories that I won't bore you with, but they blew his mind. I'm like, dude, no, you got to be on this show. And so come to find out, I said, well, listen, what happened last time? Because they told me I was going to be on 4. And they said, who was your casting agent? And I told them, they said, oh, man, she ended up going to Big Brother. And her case files just got pushed to the side. So I'm like, dude, I got lost in the shuffle, you know? But I got a chance to meet the guys. So I used the same videotape. But yeah, I applied multiple times.
I think Penny Penny was almost on a different season too, right? And she ended up on ours.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Erin, how about you? What do you think your niche was in the casting?
She was the hot bartender. Are you kidding? Who didn't want her on the show?
Well, I mean, the questions they were asking me in my interviews were, so would you take your clothes off? Will you, would you do Playboy? Like, and then
they asked me that too. They asked me that too. No, they didn't.
Did they? Yeah. Well, I ended up getting, somehow they found out Playboy found out my address to my house, to my real estate company, and to the bar that I worked at, and sent me, basically wanted me to do it afterwards, and I declined. But yeah, I could tell so I could tell them that that's where they were going with all of that. So in the very beginning, I had a brown, like, swimsuit. So it was like this triangle, top. Once I realized that that's where they were going with that, I wore my sports bra from then on. So I just
in the game.
In the game, like I wore my.
I think I remember that. I remember your brown bikini.
I wore that like maybe 2 days or something, and then after that, I switched and just wore like my sports bra and all that, because any little thing will, I mean.
Wasn't that on the TV guide?
Or what they're thinking about you, and.
Yeah. Wasn't that picture on the TV guide with the brown swimsuit?
Yes.
Something like that. Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Oh, it was a classic, Erin. It was a classic. Don't tell my wife, it's still pinned on my wall. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Who was first on that one?
You rocked it. What about you, Tanya? What was your thing, Tanya?
Oh, it was definitely like the girl next door kind of thing, like Amber Birch. Like they kept saying that. In fact, one time Colleen Sullivan had came up and she was like, hey, it's the final interview, blah, blah, blah. Like it was like when we were going that, the final round into CBS, and it was like who they were deciding on. And she was like, you need to dress up sexy. And I was like, sexy? And she was like, yeah, nobody had ever said that. And I was like, okay. So I do. I don't even remember what I wore. It was like a midi dress or something. And I get there, and Lynn Spillman sees me, and she says, what in the world? And she takes me, we were in that room all together, and she takes me out of the room and says, who told you to wear this? And I said, Colleen did. And she said, come here now. And she made a staff change clothes with me to look like the girl next door. I wore a stranger's clothes for the photo interview.
What a cool story.
That's amazing. That's a great story.
I was like, whose shoes am I wearing? I mean, it was crazy. They were just throwing things at me. I was like, I hope it fits.
Hey,
but yeah.
You're supposed to be Marianne, not Ginger. What's going on?
Exactly. But I mean, that tells you how like strict they are. Like when you talk about the pictures on the table, that was my role, and they did not want to stray from that role, or I wasn't going to make it on the show. So it was a big deal.
I remember while we're telling stories, we walked into. Remember, we went to the headquarters, and you walk in the room, and it's Mark Burnett and Les Moonves, big hitters, right?
Oh,
so walk in, and here's Les Moonves, the president of CBS. He's sitting on a couch with Mark and a bunch of other APs scattered around, and so I walked in. And I said, hey, Mark, how you doing? I reached over and I shook his hand. I said, Mr. Moonves, it's an honor to meet you. I shook his hand. And Les Moonves went like, and he looked at Mark, and Mark looked at him and he said, I told you he studied the game. Because, I mean, Les thought nobody knew who he was, and I knew half the people in the room because I'd done so much research. And from that time on, I think Les was sold. It's like, okay, this guy, he wants it bad,
I remember you quoting stuff out of Mark Burnett's book. I remember a story you told me where they landed on a beach somewhere, and they were dealing with indigenous people, and he like tried to say something to someone, and they had spears in front of him, and he reached out and touched the tip of one of the spears, and it was super sharp, and he like collapsed. I just remember you. I remember you telling that story again.
Well, he had written 3 books, and I had read all of them. So anything they came up with, I was going to have some kind of answer to it. And I guess some of that stuff worked and paid off, but yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, dude. I mean, yeah, 100%.
If I was as cool as Robb, it'd be different. But I had to come up with every bit of ammunition I had.
I honestly, I think I got cast just clearly dumb luck, and I had already been on TV.
Oh, you're so cool, man.
But do you think you filled that one of those niches though? What kind? I mean, the young guy or I
think so. I think I was the youngest cast member. I'm pretty sure I was.
The young bad boy,
Yeah, that's
how they edited him. I mean, he wasn't.
Yeah.
He got a bad rap. I feel like when the show aired, and I remember defending him to all my friends that were watching, who obviously didn't know him, because I was like, look, they take 72 hours worth of video footage and they edit it down to 45 minutes really with commercials, so they can make you be anything that they want you to be. And so that's what they did Robb, just for the, we obviously were like one of the least dramatic seasons, so they had to do something. But
100%.
I remember you reminded me, Erin's character reminded me of Sarah Jones from the season before.
Yeah,
that's right.
Just a hot, which I love her too. Like, you all are actually very similar, very sweet, and just beautiful women. And I thought, oh, Erin's cast to look like her. Like, as soon as I saw you, I was like, oh, she's like the Sarah.
Yep.
Well, and my mistake was that in my mind, I was cast to be the Colby from Australia because I was the outdoor. Now, I wasn't as handsome as him. I get that. But I was strong, I was athletic, and I was an outdoorsman and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
And so, on the show, I sort of was playing my role. I found the water, I started the fire, I caught the food and all those things. Dumb me. I thought they were going to keep me around at least till the merge because I could provide.
Yeah.
What I should have been was up in the cave with Tanya and everybody else talking about everybody else.
Yeah, starting to play the game.
Yeah.
It's insane. They definitely. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ben.
And that's how it is immediately off the boat these days. You play that game, landed on that beach kind of thing. But I didn't mean
I mean, dude, we kind of all made shelter a priority and started venturing off and doing our own thing at Duke's Drive. But
that helped Brian win. Brian had a alliance from the start. Like, he was like on game right away. Like, in fact, John, you asked me to be in alliance, me and Helen, and I was so terrified because Brian had already approached me, and I was like, oh my God, what do I do? I don't want to turn against, like, it puts you in an awkward situation.
Well, you know what? And because I remember Helen saying at that conversation, she said, yeah, I think I'm just going to play the game. I'm not going with alliance. And so I was quiet. But had you spun that and said, hey, Brian's already approached me, let's all get in it, it'd have been a little conversation could change the whole direction of the game. And so I was just like, because I really wanted to be in alliance with you. And then Helen was like, let's not. And I'm like, well, I don't want to push it and seem like the eager beaver here. So it was just kind of.
That's always a term that makes me laugh. It was definitely a trip. I didn't do the alliance thing right away. I'm sure conversations were going on, but Ken was like, "I would never vote for you," and I was like, "I'll never vote for you either, Ken." And for me, I'm a man of his word. Like, if I say I'm going to do something, it's what I do. So I never voted for Ken, and I always had Ken's back, despite the fact that he's such a clown. But what happened
to Ken? I've never even I haven't heard about him or anything.
I told you guys when I had when after I did the special for VH1 and for MTV, I had a really rad opportunity with MTV, and I was in New York for a couple of weeks. And one of the nights he took me out, and he's like, "Just crash at my place in Brooklyn." I was like, "All right, dude. I have no idea where the trains go or anything, dude. I'm a 23-year-old kid from Scottsdale, Arizona. Brings me to Brooklyn. In the morning, he's supposed to drive me back to the city to my hotel in Times Square. Another DoubleTree that CBS helped me out, or Viacom helped me out with. And instead of him driving me into the city, I woke up and he wasn't home. And I called him repeated times. He never answered his phone. They basically hung me out to dry. I had to figure out the train. People told me, people were really nice and told me how to get where I was going. I have no idea what happened to Ken, but I mean, he's not a cop anymore, which I think sucks.
Oh, he's not?
No.
He went into acting and kind of kept trying to, ride the Survivor train a little bit and stuff. And I think he's had some success with it, and whatever. I mean, I've seen him at a couple of different things, but
he broke his hand as a cop, so like he had to retire.
Oh, that's right. That's what it was.
Yeah. So I used to see him at some Green Bay Packer events we used to do together, but like here on social media lately, I almost wondered if someone took over his account at some of the stuff he's been posting. I won't say it on here, but it's really bothered me because it's not like something I would think he would post. Very offensive stuff that is very shocking. So I hope that someone has taken over.
Sometimes, every couple of months or something, he'll like something I did on Facebook. So I don't know if I'll have to double check. Now you got me curious, but
I don't, it's crazy because we were pretty close in the game. I mean, just obviously with our alliance, and I almost missed my whole Today Show interview because when I got to New York, once you're voted off, or
you do the tour.
Yeah, you go to either New York or LA. It kind of depends on, or no, that was the finale. You go to New York for that week that you're voted off. And so
the media blitz.
I got into town and ended up, a friend, actually, my ex-boyfriend from before the show, we'd gotten back together. And so he was with me in New York. We went out with Ken. We were out until like
Was he the guy that owned the bar? Was he the guy that owned the bar?
Yeah.
Erin,
okay.
right?
I remember.
Yes.
Yeah, he was cool. I remember him.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry to interrupt. Anyways,
no,
so you guys went out till like 4 a.m.
And we were out until like 4 a.m. We get back to our hotel room. Well, the next morning, I woke up to someone banging on my door. I had slept through my alarm. I had slept through the phone ringing. Joanna Fuentes was my.
I love her.
So I see her all the time. She comes in town once a year for Southside, and I see her. She came in when Super Bowl was in Houston. She came and stayed with me for a week and was there for all that. But I get to see her actually quite a bit. I love her to pieces. But she was my publicist, and so, or I guess all of our publicists. And so I missed the first, like the 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock portion of the Today Show because I just overslept. And so she's just like freaking, like she could not believe it. And she was like so irate with Ken. Like, luckily she wasn't really that mad at me. I mean, I was just kind of like a train wreck, but we get into the limo trying to get to CBS, and I'm trying to like put makeup on in the car. And I guess I put on like a ton of blush, and she's like, no. And she's like trying to like wipe my face off. And I had all my interviews, like Entertainment Tonight, like, I mean, all that stuff.
All of them.
And I was so hungover. I don't know, like I've never been that like irresponsible, like I just felt like, what did I do? Cause I'm not really like a rule breaker or anything like that. So yeah, that was my night out with Ken. So I'll have to find him on Facebook and see how, I'll have to look into that too, Tanya.
Yeah.
So Patty, I don't know if did we get a question from you, or were they the ones questioning you and everything like that? Did you have any questions for anybody?
Well, they were questioning me, but that's okay. I'm just enjoying their reunion.
Yeah.
Thanks for sponsoring our family reunion, Patty.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome.
Seriously.
So, how many of you all still follow Survivor?
I still watch it. We still follow it.
So,
I wish.
What do you think of how it's evolved? Because you never see people having to boil water and, all the stuff that made Survivor, they've just totally changed.
Yeah, I think
I'm old school.
Yeah, we had to boil water.
I don't like the idols. I don't like the new stuff. Like, I'm very, like, remember when they came to our hometowns and showed what you did for a living? Like, we spent a day filming, like, to tell you, and you fell in love with the characters. Like, I loved Elizabeth and Roger. I loved Pascal and Nalia. Like you love the characters of the game. And now there's so much left up to chance. Like, I feel like so many people get saved by idols that don't really deserve to get saved. And like, the game could go either way. And like Edge of Extinction, like, people being allowed to come back in the game and potentially win, like Chris beating Gavin, like, it just blows my mind, like that's fair, because I don't think that's fair, but that's just me.
And I think some of the things too, and I agree with you, Tanya. You know me, I'm old school like you, and I think sometimes, I'm not being derogatory, but sometimes I look at how the game is going, and then all of a sudden, oh, look, we have this thing that we can do here. And I'm like, so you didn't like the direction it was heading, and so you allowed that other and so I wonder if it's sometimes a little bit ulterior motive. You know, when we played, it was straight up, this is how it was, and you just kind of
there was no idols. It was like you got voted off, you were out, game over. And now there's so many options. There's so many opportunities for people to come back, and some of that stuff to me, it's produced
within reason. Might be allowed, you know, within reason.
Yeah.
But when it looks like it was specifically designed to direct it into an agenda for a specific player or for a specific thing, that's when I mean, throw an idol here or there. I'm not so opposed to that, you know, because it does add a little bit. But oh, this person was really going to get voted out. Now all of a sudden there's a new idol. Now that's the stuff that bothers me, because they're playing.
Do you think that those things are produced where, you know, perhaps the producers think that this person adds value to the audience?
Mm-hmm. Russell Hantz, how many idols could one potentially find? Like, there's no way any human could find more idols than he did.
I'm with
you. He's entertaining.
Yeah, they would be like, you know, look over here and we'll film it. Just because nowadays I know, and I'm sure you guys get asked the question, how real is it? And I'm like, dude, when I did Survivor, we boiled our water. Everything tasted like smoke. All my clothes like smoke. Everything sucked.
Yeah.
We ate coconuts that had sand in them. I mean, you guys remember? There was definitely, like,
we didn't eat
later
that
on we found.
Like, we really didn't eat that much. I mean,
we didn't eat coconuts that were provided.
Leaves on a tree. I remember eating the leaves on the tree.
That's right.
See, I don't mean to cut into your guys' conversation here, but at the same time about the production and all that kind of stuff, production with all the idols and everything, I won't go off on a rant by any means, but there's one popular winner, which I won't say here, but I believe was a complete production win for the season that they were on.
How recently?
Season 35, Jason? Is that who you're talking about?
I'm not saying a word.
I'd like to hear both you guys chime in. I Big Mike thinks because he's been such a fan of the show and he's watched so many seasons. How do you think, entertainment-wise, do you think that Survivor's gotten worse or gotten better?
I think it's pitching to what Probst thinks is like the fans, and they think they're trying to feed what we want, but a lot of the fans have been sticking around since 2000, and it's all this bullshit that we just hang on for, even though I love the show. That's why I still watch it. But I agree with Tanya. It should be like when you played in Thailand and all this other crap. I don't think it's bringing in new people, having 10 idols. And when idols come in, like in San Juan del Sur, the idol magically came around when it needed to help certain people. And then when other people needed an idol, there weren't idols in there. So there's been production interference since day 9 of Borneo. There always will be. And Jason's talking about, I'm pretty sure it's Ben from season 35.
Well, actually, I quit that season. That's one of the two seasons I quit. Just not because of like not liking the characters or things like that. It's just I didn't like the season. So that's one season I did quit, but I've heard plenty about it. But that's not the one I'm talking about.
And you watched all of Thailand and you quit another season?
I've seen Thailand 3 times now.
I'm kidding. So funny. It's like people say it's this first season that people
it gets a lot of hate. It does get a lot of hate, which is sad for me because there's so many good people that makes me really sad.
Yeah, Fiji does too, but Fiji had that haves and have-nots thing going on, which really kind of screwed the entire dynamic. But it was still a lot of great people on there and stuff. It was still a fun season. You still got to know the people, and that's one of the things that you're talking about, Tanya, is we don't get to know the people anymore. It's like here are 16 models and an old person, or 15 models and an old person. And, here you go, and here's 20 idols for that,
The intros aren't even on there anymore because Russ Landau's not on the show, but they don't even do the intro now. You have to go online or fans have to make it. And that's just, it's not about the people now. It's about the machine, and they just chew you guys up and spit you out. And it's terrible as a fan of, I'm more of a fan of the Survivors than Survivor. I don't drive around meeting you all because of the show. It's because you all are rad people. So.
Yeah. Hey, Tanya, I wonder if they have those intros, like you said, they drove around town. Because I remember they took me, I was up in a tree stand, like I had my bow and all that. do they have that stuff available? Can I ask for that footage or anything, or do you know?
I don't know if they would still have it this far out, but like,
No
it's
way.
funny. It's funny because we went, like when Fairplay and them were staying with me this weekend, we went to this park, and I was like, I said, interesting enough, back in the day when they used to do intros, they made me get in this water with all these lily pads so they could take a picture. And I remember being soaking wet and them not even using that one. And I was like, why didn't they use that picture? Like, but anyway, yeah, like it would be cool to see because we spent like a whole day. We even there was like a field of daisies, and they like knocked on the door and asked the person if they could film me in their field of daisies. And I remember having like chiggers and stuff. I was like, oh my God, I'm getting eaten up by stuff, like laying in this field.
Wow.
See, Rob, you talk about, you know, the changes and things like that, and about how we feel about seasons these days. Mike and I, and I'm sure Patty can chime in here as well, obviously. But the thing is that I have become a diehard fan of Australian Survivor. And mainly the reason there is it goes back old school.
It's no frills.
You get to really know the people. I mean, they really dig into their who they are as a person. They are, you know, even the first person voted out, you know about them by the time that episode's over. But they also have 3.5 hours per week, and they go for 50 days, and their challenges are like way more difficult or way more physically intense than ours. But I've fallen in love with Australian Survivor, which in turn to New Zealand Survivor, and eventually South Africa Survivor. Meanwhile, like Mike's saying, nowadays it's kind of like us old school fans are hanging on just for the sake of hanging on a lot of times.
That's crazy, man. I wish your guys' voices could be heard. I wish, you know, the voice of the masses could be heard by CBS. Who knows, man? Maybe they'll do a season where there's like the season of no idols, or who knows what they would call it. Something
back to basics would be great. So, but they won't do
Survivor
it.
Survivor back to basics. They need to bring people like John Raymond back, people like Brian Heidick, people like
not Sheehan.
Honestly, the funny thing is Sheehan and I.
Rob would not pick Sheehan ever.
No, but I mean, you guys also have to understand that's already been talked about. Sheehan and I definitely didn't get along in the game. We didn't really get along on the vacation afterwards. But I have no ill will towards that sweetheart, that poor girl. But I think Survivor needs to go into some of the untapped seasons and pick some really interesting characters who have, you know, potential to do rad things. I think Brian Heidick, again, the last call we had where all of us had the opportunity to talk, I think Brian he played his tribe like a fiddle, man. And he had again, I wish somebody would have remembered, but when he went through the 3 fingers, he's like, I have my loyal soldier, I have this, I have that, and he did, man. And like Tanya said, which was interesting in this conversation to hear, is Brian was in the game from day one. And I mean, the guy definitely was very manipulative, but he was very cavalier, and he played a game where, you know, a lot of people didn't even realize he was playing a game until he was already in the running for top 3. People like that, if they brought back, like, dude, on the season of winners, it would have been so rad to have someone like that. And also for the fans of like you guys, to have somebody that maybe, you know, fans who've only jumped on the show the past 10 years, for those fans to be like, who the hell is this dude? And for them to look him up and be like, holy shit, like this dude played this game. And for him to come in, and if he got a fair shot, I just think that kind of stuff would be really cool.
Yeah, he brought his game. He really did. Yeah.
He did,
yeah,
dude.
Like,
I think
they should have. Why don't they do a season where it's all of the people that were voted out first? You know what I mean? Like that first person who never got the opportunity
brilliant.
to be able to.
Brilliant idea.
I love that idea, Erin. That's a brilliant idea.
Well, I mean, honestly,
it really is, though.
I don't know about you guys, but once I realized, you know, I didn't watch the show before I got on it. I'd watched like 2 episodes. I didn't know anything about it. And I also didn't want I didn't want to come across as a total jerk or whatever. But after so, you know, I played it nice and, you know, just how I normally am as a person. But then once I started watching more seasons and then watching Big Brother and, you know, some of those other shows, it's outwit, outplay, outlast. It is a game. And that's where I think we all lose sight of that, because in the end, people vote it's like an emotional vote as to who screwed over who or whatever. I don't think that many people really are voting for the person that really outplayed and outwitted and outlasted, they're a little butthurt over it. So they don't vote for that person. And I think I definitely would have played the game differently. I mean,
I know I would have.
I wouldn't have kind of just, stuck around. I mean, I would have been a lot more aggressive with my alliances and
Yeah. I honestly, like, when we got out there, I even said in the recap episode, I said I made it 18 days without playing a game with anyone. And I didn't lie to anybody. I didn't. I told Shan to her face I couldn't stand her. I voted for her every single time. Whatever. I honestly knew when my vote was coming because of the way Ken was controlling the voting, and he got rid of people that he was intimidated by. He sat out of all the challenges that were challenging, which people on my tribe, Erin, can contest to it. And he got rid of the strong people, which was stupid because he thought we were going right into a merge. If Sukjai would have stayed strong, if we would have gotten rid of Shan first, I'd be surprised. I would have been curious to see how it would have ended up because we had Jed, who was a superhero, Ken, who was a strong guy that sat out of everything. I was pretty athletic in this because I won that whole food challenge for us. I did some stuff. I would have been curious to see how the game would have been different. But
the truth is, Rob, you're making such good sense because the truth is, and Erin, back to your point, really, if you took any season and put it out there again and started the whole thing again, you would have a completely different game than if they took all of Thailand and put it out again. We all know it would be 100% different. If they just started it again, so many different things could have gone differently.
Totally.
It's crazy for people who get voted out early and other people who kind of fell by the way, who are actually really solid competitors. It would be interesting if CBS, stopped going, with fan favorites. The show already has such a big following. Go with people who are super interesting, who are going to play a game that's like mind blowing. It'd be really rad to see that. I would get back into the show. The show's. Go ahead.
John and Tanya. I mean, Tanya got sick. And so you never even got to see her play.
That's right.
And then, it's like John was basically a threat or an outsider because he was, off. He wasn't,
he was an outsider. I think it was not that he was. He did a lot on his own, and he was missing the conversations.
Yeah, I made a mistake with that.
Clearly, everyone knows that Gandia should have been that first vote.
Thank
you. Based on performance. But I love Gandia. But I'm saying, like, I was like, why the hell did they vote? Why the hell did they vote for this guy? Like watching the episode, I knew who got voted out first. Obviously, because when the second challenge happened and they came back and just like, you'll notice they're light one survivor, but her survivor's ready. And I was like, John's not here. They kept Gandia around. And, dude, Survivor, as much as it is like an outwit, outlast, outplay game, what it really comes down to is it's funny and it's dog eat dog, man. And it really comes down to like the way that we are in social settings. There's just in life, there's certain people that you're just not going to gel with. And if you can convince other people that person sucks, people vote him out. So it's like, it's kind of how it goes down, man. And then, that's early in the game, but then later on in the game, people are like, people start getting intimidated. This person's playing a better game than me. This person's a threat. I have to convince the people who are in my squad, who I have an alliance with, to go against this dude and get some people out of his squad so we can outnumber him. Then it gets different. But dude, it's a study on human nature, man. And it definitely, I didn't play the game. I went out there and fucking body surfed every day, got stung by stingrays, did stupid shit, climbed trees like an idiot, wasted my energy. I laid in the sun with Jed. Like, we did dumb stuff, but it was incredible. It was incredible. I wouldn't change a second of it ever. But I honestly think too, like, people always ask me, like, would you play the game again? I think now, I would probably play the game again. And I don't even know, like, I don't know how hard I would play it. I don't like, realistically, $1 million is dope, but I don't know. Who knows, man? It depends on the people who are out there. Who knows?
But I think the fact is like playing the game and you want to make it as far as you can just to experience the game as much as you possibly can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
That
100%.
really was like when I got voted off, I wasn't sad about not winning $1 million. I was bummed that I wasn't going to be able to, that was it for me. Like, that's it for, you know, my time out there on the island, because I'm never going to get that back. And
I just wanted to play more challenges. I was like, you mean I get one challenge and I'm out? I've been working for this my whole life. I'll give up the $1 million, but can I play the challenges? I just wanted to play more, you know, and be involved.
yeah.
I was so ready to roll.
We're coming down about our last 7 minutes of the official time and things like that. I wanted to see if either Mike or Patty had any more questions for y'all, since, you know, we got the open floor here.
What was the coolest thing you've gotten to do because of the show? I know you talked about a lot of cool, you know, charity events and supporting a bunch of causes, but just fun, neat stuff. You talked about like the Ponderosa trip, but other neat stuff you've gotten to do because of this show. You know, what else have you gotten to do?
I think going to the Elizabeth Glaser Pediatric AIDS Foundation, to their big hero charity, was one of the coolest experiences of my life. I don't think I've ever cried so much in one day.
Yeah, that was a cool thing.
Dude, the parents walking, you know, the parents introducing their kids who were born with HIV, who, you know, it obviously affects their pituitary gland, it affects the way that these kids develop. And, you know, a lot of kids were in wheelchairs or whatever. Like, the kids knew my name. And it really struck a chord with me because I didn't know their name. And I wanted to, like, hug them and I wanted to shake their hands. But, I mean, that's not okay. You know what I mean? It was a really heavy day, man. It was really beautiful. And I think, I mean, I know Joanna Fuentes was there. Lynn Spellman was there. I can't remember who made fun of me for crying, dude, but not like, oh, it's Blair from Road Rules. When I moved to LA, I made all of my friends when I first moved there were reality kids, and they were invited to this event as well. But a buddy of mine made fun of me. He's like, I feel like if I sneezed in your direction right now, you would cry. I would just really overcome. It was a really magical day. There was a lot of cool events. There's a lot of people that I idolized, who were peers, who hung out for a really rad cause, and all of us, you know, met these parents and heard these stories about these kids and what they've had to deal with, and it was magical. It was definitely, I feel like all the greatest experiences that have come from Survivor have been everything that we've gotten to do, where I've gotten to talk to people just about their lives. Like I said, you know, all life really is a collection of stories, man, and how you share them.
I remember, to your point, I got, you know, you start getting fan mail and people want autographs and they write you letters and all of that. And, you know, there wasn't social media, so we weren't, you know, connecting that way.
Yeah.
And getting, you know, I mean, I remember getting a letter from a woman who, she had her chemo treatment every Thursday. And so she got her chemo treatment and then she sat there and watched our
Survivor.
Wow. You know, and she said the doctor got her through. And it's like, there's nothing, I mean, being able to help somebody in that way when, first of all, you don't even realize that you're doing it. But realizing the magnitude of what this show and it means to people and being able to be a part of that and being able to, it's about the fans. I mean, that's really the best part of the whole
100%.
The whole show. I mean, even when we did season 5, Jeff Probst, they were wondering whether or not there was going to be a season 6. You know what I mean? They really wasn't set in stone.
They had no idea.
I don't think anyone thought it was going to go on this long. So it really is that it's the fans that love the show, and because it's those conversations that you have with people, you know, that they come up to like, oh my gosh, you're on Survivor and I have all these questions for you. And I'm like, have at it. Like, I love to answer all the questions, you know, because I would love to tell you about my experience. It was a life-changing experience for me. And
100%.
most life-changing experiences are negative. It's because of a death or a breakup or, you know, something. And this was a positive life-changing experience. And I'd love to just share it with everyone. It's such a huge part of who I am, but really it's just being able to, people watching you or seeing, you know, whatever, and you making them feel better, or you making, you know, you taking them out of their reality for that 1 hour or however long it is, and then being able to help them by, you know, sending them just even sending them an autographed photo or having a conversation with them or whatever. That's the best part for me.
It's absolutely,
too.
It's 100% the best part. I always have said, like, I always consider, like, my level of success has always been, I've been very fortunate in my life, as all of us have been. I've been very fortunate that I've been able to help people, and I've always attributed, like, that's how I rate my success, I guess, like 100%. My ability to be able to help people is my degree of success and my level of success. And Survivor did a lot for me, dude. I met really cool people like Mike. I guess I was one of the last people from the season of Thailand that he'd never gotten to meet. He'd hit me up a couple times. I think maybe even on MySpace, dude. I don't even know if Facebook was a thing.
Bro. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was MySpace. But I mean, dude, again, like to echo what Erin was saying, to reiterate, it's all about the fans, man. And it's honestly, it's insane that this show has touched far and wide. It's been on TV for so long that you have, younger people who are now grown up. I legitimately got one of my first real talent managers, who I booked my first like real commercial from a guy who wanted to interview me for World of Wonder magazine, who was a Survivor fan who had grown up. He watched it when he was old and grew up. I mean, the guy's like, his name's Mickey. He's like 15 years younger than me. He grew up and he watched Survivor, and he was like, dude, I always really liked you on Survivor. Would you do this interview? I was like, well, 100%. I would love to do it. And I did it. And obviously he's like, dude, you're interesting. I interned for this agent. Do you have stuff? So I sent him my reel, and she contacted me, and I looked her up, and I was like, holy shit, this lady was, manager of the year years ago, whatever. Anyways, long story short, serendipitously, Survivor has, to answer the question again that you asked, Mike, it's given me the opportunity to meet a lot of really fantastic people, go to a lot of really cool places, share stories with people, hear people's stories. And I mean, I guess just grow up. It happened to me when I was 20. It's over almost half my life ago that it happened. And it's been crazy. It changed my life. Like Erin said, there was no tragedy. There was no, terrible thing. Unfortunately, that you have these terrible things happen in your life that change your life. Erin, John, Tanya, and I sat on a beach and looked at the stars. We weren't, Tanya and John were on a different beach, and Erin was in the shelter. But Jed, we were all under the same stars. Jed and I and Stephanie sat on the beach and stared at the stars. And I remember storms rolling in and me getting rained on, or waking up with a hermit crab literally in the dent in my chest, in its shell, just on me. And none of these things will ever happen to me again. But just the experiences were insane. Playing the game was, like John said about challenges. The challenges were insane, but the moments of sitting on the beach, like they showed in my final episode, I have this revelation. I'm a very philosophical dude, and I have those conversations every night. Like, you can ask Erin. I was definitely someone who was like, dude, we're so lucky to be here. And I was so hyped every night. They chose to show it in the end. Like, I had this, epiphany, this great epiphany. But in reality, all of it was an epiphany. From the moment, like, I put my toes in the sand and we pulled our boat out of the water, I was like, what did I just get myself into? And then it was 18 days. I never planned. It's insane to me to even now how long 18 days is. And I was out there for that long. Erin was there longer than me. Even to be there for 1 day, 2 days, to sleep overnight with no facilities, dude. It got real in the first 10 minutes. And it's lovey-dovey for a second, and then it's like, boom, you kind of just jump into your role, and you kind of start doing shit. But anyways, I'm sorry to get so long-winded. Survivor was magical. And
so Mike, like, for me, this is just, like, I came from a really small town. So, like, I remember going to the People's Choice Awards and being like, oh, my God, this is the craziest thing. Do you remember, Erin? Like, was it Gary Busey or somebody was hitting on her that always cracks me up?
Oh,
like,
my God, dude.
Yes.
He walked over.
And I was like,
oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah, I remember 100%, dude.
It was just surreal to, like,
God,
get to go to that and, like, literally be sitting around, like, Jennifer Aniston and the cast of Friends, like, to have that experience. And I had not traveled a lot. So for me, the small town girl, like, Survivor changed my life. Like, it made me just want more, to do more, to travel more. And Clay invited some of us to his hometown golf tournament. And that's where I met. Yes, so fun.
That was so fun.
And I met Donald Driver from the Green Bay Packers. and I was always a Packer fan because my dad was. And he invited me to his, and from there, I've set Aaron Rodgers on a blind date. I have his cell phone number. Like, I have met like a ton of the Green Bay Packers because of Survivor. I've hung out with Anna Nicole Smith, me and John Carroll and Dave Johnson, Jerry Matney. We did this event and hung out with Anna Nicole Smith. So for a small town girl, like, to get to do that is amazing. And then what Erin says, like, of course, you know, I've been to Hearts of Reality every year. So the social worker in me, to be able to go and see those kids get excited and to give back in that way is life-changing. So Survivor gave me just life-changing experiences.
100%.
Well, you know, and I'll tell you this, Tanya, you have been an ambassador for the show. And I think everybody would agree with that.
Seriously.
Not only do you show up to all these things, but you do it with such class and such heart that you make me, you know, proud to be a part of this fraternity. I guess I don't, you know, and every one of us are saying the same thing, that the ability to touch other people's lives. I will give you a cool thing. First of all, I'll tell you this, that when I tell people, or they ask me if I was a survivor, I tell them, or it comes up, then I've often been asked, well, how'd you do? You know, and of course I was voted off first, right? And so I've come up with this thing over the years. You know, if it's like, I heard you on Survivor. Yeah, I was on Survivor. What season? Thailand. Well, how did you do? And I say, I came in first. Yeah, exactly. They all say, oh, you won? No, I came in first. You know, they laugh even louder, you know. But I will tell you this, while we were in country, traveling around, and I was so debilitated that I was voted off first. I'm like, I'm gonna be humiliated for the rest of my life. At least if I'd have come in second, you know, but to come in first, it's just
it's embarrassing too. It's embarrassing.
Okay, very good. But this is what happened. While I was on the show, I was able to wear this little cross that I invented. I call it Disciples Cross, 4 horseshoe nails, and it's a red, white, and blue, and I wear it all the time. But while we were traveling around, I had my notebook, and I came up with the idea to create a kit that people could buy. They could work at home. They could make my crosses. I could sell them the material, sell them the kit, buy back the crosses, sell them in Christian bookstores or country western boot stores because it's a horseshoe nail and whatever else. And I kid you not, I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but since that time, that little bitty company has generated well over $10 million to me over the thing. And so, and it's got a little card on the back that says the nails stand for the nails in the hands of Christ. The wire
I think you sent me one. I remember
I'm sure,
that.
yeah. The wire stands for the crown of thorns twisted on the straps stand for the leather that beat the Savior. And then my motto verse is Matthew 16:24, where Jesus said, take up your cross and follow me. So it's a ministry that has touched literally the lives of hundreds of thousands of people, brought in millions of dollars to our ministry. And it happened all because I had that extra 6 weeks to sit around and do nothing except pray. How can I come up with something? And so I didn't win $1 million, but I'll bet you there's very few survivors that have generated more income from that than me. And nobody else knows that story. This is a very, you know, never told another survivor that. Y'all are the only ones to know that. But that's the thing that I've used to touch a lot of people's lives. And it's meant a lot to us, you know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Coming in first actually turned out to be a good thing for me.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up, talk about Reality for Diabetes one more time here, and the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation and all that. I think that's right? JDRF? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And tie that up, then I'll stop the recording. You guys can do like we did last time if you want to, chit-chat as much as you want. I'll leave it running. But for now, again, this event today was put together by Tasha. She, Tasha Wilkie. She runs the Reality for Diabetes out there in Ohio, every year. Unfortunately, with quarantine this year, as with everybody else, practically the official event was canceled. You are able to donate to this organization up until July 17th. The link that she gave me is not an easy link to talk about on here, and it won't come across in a saved video. So what I'd recommend is if you're interested in this and would like to support the Reality for Diabetes and all this, go to Tasha Wilkie's page or, you know, talk to any of these guys here, you know, Rob, Erin, John, Tanya, Tasha again. You know, and they can get you the link or the information, or myself, I'm Jason Rasmussen, or even Big Mike, you know, or, Mike Albright over there. We all, you know, have some connection to it somehow. We can get you the link. The goal is to raise as much money as possible for, you know, Reality for Diabetes. And unfortunately, as with all the charities right now, they're kind of suffering through the quarantine. So any help that you can provide is wonderful. Tasha really works her butt off every year to get this thing going. And like I said earlier on, she's raised over $160,000, you know, for the organization, you know, JDRF and all that over the years. So that's very, very impressive. And so if you can donate, that'd be wonderful. I do truly appreciate having this chance again to talk with you all you Thailand folks and everything like that. You're all, you know, your hearts show really well, being able to come out and support all these charities and be kind and talk about your experiences. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun for me, but I know I've got several hundred views on YouTube of your other one that you did for me earlier on, and that just keeps going up. So it's great that you guys are so supportive of charities and so supportive of helping people, as you all just talked about a second ago. Any last comments? Any last anything along those lines that you'd like to say?
I just want to thank all my survivor buddies there. I mean, Erin, getting to know you and Rob more. Tanya and I have been pals, and we've done a lot of things together with our families. But for you guys too, just getting to know you guys more and more. And every time we do these, I just walk away so blessed, and I just appreciate that. And, you know,
Me too.
To the opportunity.
My heart was so full after the, you know, because we hadn't had a reunion. Like this in ever, really.
Ever.
So,
I mean, even at our reunions, we didn't have the chance to talk.
Like,
you know, like even we had the 10-year reunion, everyone came back.
I mean, this is like we're all hanging out in the same living room, just chatting. You know, I love it. You know?
Like having a casual conversation.
We need to commit to a reunion. You need to either get Jed to do it, or we'll use Big Tom's is a little further for you guys. So either way, you let me know. We need to make that happen.
So, dude, honestly, get a projected date, and let's start.
I'm there.
Together. See if you can get some charities involved and have people come. It'd be great.
Count me in for more. I don't know what happened to me. I didn't even realize that all of these charity things had been going on for, I mean, I guess I work a lot, you know, but I actually am making a transition into tech right now, out of woodworking as a career. So I have more free time, and I'll definitely have to be able to travel more. And
well, the ambassador will put your email on all the lists. So
yes, please do. Please.
I'm excited. I get depressed because, like, I'm the only one from Thailand almost all the time. Like, occasionally Brian Heidick, but it's depressing. Like, I always hang out with Gina Cruz and Nalia and Jesse Camacho, so it's good. We need some old schoolers. So yes.
I would love to. Yes.
You've all been great.
Addie, thank you so much, and Mike, thanks so much. It's always great.
Thank you guys.
I was going to call him Big Mike, but I corrected myself.
Big Mike's fine. That's fine, Pastor John. That's cool.
So John, are you still selling your necklaces?
I am. disciplescross.com. And you're welcome to just look. You don't have to buy one. Just, send me your address and I'll mail you one for free. I just really appreciate you. Yes, indeed.
Oh, thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and cancel or stop the recording now. Again, I'll let this run for however long you guys want. That way the official part of this is over and stuff. And again, thank you all for supporting this. This is wonderful. And I'll stop the recording.